I had hidden the truth to protect my husband, yet he had destroyed his only chance of survival with his own hands. Shortly after announcing my pregnancy, my mother-in-law thoughtfully prepared a chicken soup, insisting it would nourish me. But soon after drinking it, a sharp, searing pain tore through my abdomen. The pain was unlike anything I had ever experienced, as if a steel claw were tearing through my abdomen. Within moments, I was on the floor, writhing and drenched in sweat, feeling warm blood trickling down my legs. Athena and Ezra simply stood by, watching with unsettling calm. Through the agony, I begged my husband and mother-in-law to call an ambulance, only for my mother-in-law to reply, with eerie calm, "No need. I've added a full dose of abortion drugs. No miracle worker could save this child now." I was speechless. It all made sense. Their refusal to drink the soup, the cold way they watched me suffer. But why? I turned to Ezra, hoping for an answer. "Ezra?" Ezra's expression turned impatient. "My first love, Aurora, is back. She's still single and still loves me, but she's a moral woman who wouldn't interfere in a marriage. I planned to divorce you and marry her, but then you got pregnant. She'd accept the divorce, but not me having a child with someone else. So, this child has to go." The pain in my abdomen had dulled slightly, but I knew the baby was lost. A bitter irony swept over me. I wanted to expose just how valuable this child indeed was, to watch their faces twist with regret, but the fear of provoking them held me back. Seeing my silence, Athena immediately retrieved a divorce agreement she had prepared in advance from the drawer. "Sign this, and we'll let you go to the hospital. Otherwise," I wanted to sign immediately, but a sudden wave of pain seized my abdomen, forcing me to hesitate. Noticing my reluctance, Athena rolled her eyes and said, "Stop pretending. It's just a miscarriage. How painful can it really be? This divorce agreement is more than fair. We're not asking for the house or the car, and we're leaving you all the savings. Ezra is essentially walking away with nothing, so don't act like it's not enough." I rolled my eyes internally. It was absurd. The house and car were my premarital assets. Who were they to act as if they were bestowing them upon me? Ezra mistook my silence for reluctance and frowned. "I know you have feelings for me, and you won't find a better man than me. But what's the point of holding on? Marriage should be about supporting each other until the end. When you're old and sick, I won't be there to care for you. Clinging to me will only lead to misery in your later years. Why put yourself through that?" He wasn't entirely wrong. I scoffed. "Yes, you're definitely not going to be there for me in my old age. After all, without this child's umbilical cord blood, he wouldn't survive more than a year." But Ezra failed to grasp the hidden meaning in my words. Instead, he nodded and retorted, "Exactly. Since you understand that, just sign the papers. I'm not threatening you. If you refuse, my mom and I will lock the door and take a walk, leaving you alone to think it over. If something happens to you here, like bleeding out too much, that won't be on me." Athena's eyes turned cold at this. "Right. Divorce benefits you, but widowhood benefits Ezra, don't you think?" At that moment, there was no room left for misunderstanding. I quickly nodded. "Fine, I'll sign." I picked up the pen, my hands trembling from the pain, struggling to maintain my grip. I wanted to wait for the discomfort to ease, but a bitter smile crept onto my lips. "You'll both regret treating me this way someday. I'll be there to witness your tears and hear your pleas for forgiveness," I warned, my pen gliding across the divorce papers as I signed my name. "You have big dreams, but sadly, you'll never see them come to have a chance, because Ezra..." Just as I was on the verge of revealing the truth, my phone rang, interrupting me. Ezra picked it up, his voice adopting a gentle tone I had never heard before. "Babe, she's already signed. We can finalize the divorce tomorrow, and soon, we will be together." I lowered my gaze, swallowing hard against the words I had meant to say. After I signed, Athena and Ezra pulled out their packed bags, tossed my phone at me, and promptly left my home. They seemed eager to embark on their new life together, having only packed their clothes and leaving everything else behind, as if they were ready to sprout wings and fly away. I called an ambulance myself. At the hospital, the doctor informed me that the fetus and its tissues had already been expelled, so a D&C wasn't necessary. They prescribed some blood-activating and anti-inflammatory medication, advising me to return for a follow-up in a week, and again, in a month. Once home, I lay in bed, but couldn't find sleep. My mind was a chaotic whirlwind. Just 2 months prior, Ezra and I had gone for health checkups. My results had come back normal, but he had been diagnosed with advanced leukemia. I knew he was timid and deathly afraid. With the optimal window for a bone marrow transplant missed, his only viable option had become umbilical cord blood. Telling him would only heighten his anxiety and worsen his condition, so I chose to keep it from him. I disguised the treatment meds as vitamins, persuading him to take them, while quietly stopping my birth control pills. It was a decision that went against my long-held plan to remain child-free. After receiving hormone injections at the hospital for a month, I finally got pregnant. I had hoped my sacrifice might save him, but it turned out to be in vain. The irony was almost laughable. I had hidden the truth to protect him, yet he had destroyed his only chance of survival with his own hands. If he and Athena knew the truth, I couldn't help but wonder how they would react. Early the next morning, I remained lost in sleep when my phone rang, jolting me awake. Glancing at the screen, I saw it was Ezra. With a resigned sigh, I answered the call. I answered the phone, and Ezra's furious voice erupted from the other end. "Ariana, you signed the divorce agreement, and we made everything clear yesterday. Why didn't you show up at the civil affairs office to finalize the divorce? Are you still trying to cling to me?" I rolled my eyes, ensuring I felt no unusual discomfort before replying, "I'll be there soon." When I arrived at the civil affairs office, Ezra and Athena were already there, impatience radiating from them. Beside them stood a woman I didn't recognize, clinging to Ezra's arm and looking down at me with disdain. Her contemptuous gaze spoke volumes, and I couldn't help but guess she was Ezra's first love, Aurora Smith. Since we had signed the divorce agreement the day before, today's process went smoothly, and soon, we held the divorce certificate in our hands. Ezra inspected the certificate with glee, but when he noticed I hadn't left yet, a hint of confusion crossed his features. "What are you still doing here? Get lost. You're polluting my sight. Let me make it clear. Now that we have the divorce certificate, don't come looking for me again. We're done for life." Got it? I nodded, but before I could respond, Aurora lightly tapped Ezra on the chest. Ezra, what nonsense are you spouting? When we get married, of course, we'll need to invite her to witness our happiness, right? After all, if she hadn't had the sense to step aside, how could we have gotten together so quickly? Ezra fell silent, his expression softening as he daydreamed about marrying Aurora. This look only made her more smug. She approached me, clicked her tongue twice and said, I heard you recently had a miscarriage. You should take care of yourself. Otherwise, if you can't find a husband, or have children in the future, don't even think about blaming Ezra. I turned my attention to Ezra, a smile playing on my lips. Ezra, do you know why I suddenly changed my mind about being child-free and decided to have a baby? Ezra paused, a look of confusion washing over his face. Why? It was evident that both he and Athena were genuinely intrigued. I retrieved a copy of Ezra's medical results from my bag and tossed it into his hands. Because you're dying, and the umbilical cord blood from my child was your only chance. But now, you're as good as dead.